How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today, we have a new deck list for you guys. But before we get into the deck list, we are going to explain how we're going to be doing it today because it's going to be a little bit different than the last couple of deck list videos. So today, we're going to be going over the deck list, the cards that I would recommend putting in or kind of think about putting in other than what I'm using currently. And then on top of that, we are going to have a force table little match at the end to kind of showcase what we are doing or talking about in this video, just so you guys get a little bit of a visual of what I'm talking about. I was asked to do so at the end of the video. If the video ends up being too long and you guys do not enjoy the video because of it, let me know. I can always take them out in the next one. But I figured I'd let you guys see what I'm talking about in the same video as when I talk about it, right? So today we're going to be going over this deck list and we are going to continue on talking about each leader and the way that I like to play each leader leading up to the launch of Star Wars Unlimited. So today we have a fun deck, one of my favorite. It's not like a top tier deck, like a number 1, number 2 tier deck or whatever, but it's still pretty good in my opinion, and I think that it's really fun to play. It's one of my favorite decks from when it was announced and since we started doing this, right? We're going over Tarkin here. So let's go over Tarkin as a leader. For an action and the cost of 1, he can give an Imperial unit an experience token, and an experience token gives you +1/+1. Very good, especially early game. You can try to get your really small units pretty big, and then kind of force your opponent into some decisions early on. Apply that pressure with your really strong, weaker units. So it's a lot of fun to do. And then as a leader unit, when you attack with him, he just gives an Imperial unit an experience token for free. Always a lot of fun. He's not going to be doing a lot of damage, but mainly you're just doing it to spit out that experience on your Imperial units. As you're going to see, we have a ton of Imperial units in this deck. And when we get into the ground units, I'll kind of talk about the type of Tarkin deck we're going to be playing, right? But Tarkin gives out those Imperials a lot of experience tokens, a lot of fun, just making your small guys bigger, right? Going into our base now, we play Tarkin Town. The main reason for this is because your opponent can play a lot of Sentinel units to kind of try to slow down your units. Even if you are buffing them up, you still want them to go in and attack into your opponent's base as soon as possible, because as the game is prolonged, this deck does kind of suffer down compared to other decks, right? You want to finish the game as quickly as possible in this. So Tarkin Town, being able to deal 3 damage to a damaged unit can have you attack into a Sentinel, and if you can't take out that Sentinel, use Tarkin Town to take it out and continue on your attack on the base with all of your small units, right? So that's the main reason why I play Tarkin Town. And again, because you want to finish off the game quickly, you don't really worry too much about having 25 HP rather than 30. So I just think that Tarkin Town, especially because you want to try to take out Sentinels, and if you again can't swing over it, this is a good way to kind of take care of it, right? Let's get into the ground units now. You're going to see that we are playing a Tarkin Trooper deck. I kind of like Trooper decks. I think that they're a lot of fun. But with that being said, we are playing an Imperial Trooper deck. There are some non-Trooper cards, but they are still Imperials, so it works really well with Tarkin. And I'll explain why I play the couple non-Trooper cards in the deck that I do, right? But starting off with our first card, we have Vanguard Infantry. Very simple. When defeated, give an experience token to a unit. So it doesn't have to be a Trooper. It doesn't have to be an Imperial. It's just any unit that you want to go ahead and give that experience to. It's just another way to give out free experience. Well, it's not really free because you still have to play it and then it has to get defeated. But still, I digress. Still giving out experience tokens, and it goes with the theme of this deck. We're going to get into our Death Star Stormtrooper, which is very fun, especially first turn. If you can go ahead and play this and use Tarkin's ability to give it an experience on the first turn, and you're getting up to a 4/2, having that 4 damage unit on turn 1 is pretty good, right? Other than that, it's a vanilla Imperial Trooper. Just, again, works well with the deck. You're going to see a lot of Imperial Troopers here. It's just very cheap to get it out and deals a lot of damage for what it is. One of the main pieces of this deck is our General Tag. General Tag is a 2 cost. When played, give an experience token to each of up to 3 troopers. So you're going to see that this deck is flooded with troopers. You want to flood the board with your trooper units, and then you can go ahead and give out 3 experience tokens at any point. It doesn't have to be 3 3 trooper units, right? You can play tag and give out 2 experience if you want. You can give out 1. It just, if you can get 3 experience on the board for free, just for playing a 2 cost official unit, right? That's pretty good. You can get 3 of your troopers on that snowball role here to kind of boost them up and make them a threat. It's just really good. He's one of the main cards of this deck. He kind of makes it really, really fun to play. First Legion Snowtrooper is very good for this deck. As I talked about earlier, is the Sentinel problem could be a thing, right? If you can get damage on that Sentinel and then attack into it with First Legion Snowtrooper, you're not wasting time attacking the base, because you can go ahead, you can swing into that damaged unit, because when this thing attacks into a damaged unit, it gets +2/+0, and it gets overwhelmed. So one, you're getting stronger, and two, you're doing the excess damage from that unit to the base. So you're not wasting a turn not getting damage on the base. That's why this is a very important card in this deck. Has to be a 3-of, very good. And again, a Trooper and Imperial, so it works well with Tag, and it works well with Grand Moff Tarkin. Very good, synergize as well. Another big important card for the deck here is the Snowtrooper Lieutenant. You're gonna see Snowtroopers are pretty good, right? But when played, you may attack with a unit. If it's an Imperial unit, it gets +2/+0 for this attack. So one, you get to play that card, you get another Trooper on the board. But not only that, in the same turn for one action, you get to attack with another unit. As long as it's Imperial, it gets a buff. It doesn't have to be an Imperial to attack, but if it is an Imperial, it gets a buff, which you're going to see all the cards I play pretty much are Imperial cards. So it's just a way to get a unit on the board and attack in the same turn, the same action, I should say, which is always good. So the next card we're going to go over now is Admiral Ozzel. Admiral Ozzel, I'll be able to go in a little bit more detail as we get a little bit further down in the deck list, because it works really well with a couple cards in this deck. But the reason I play it is to kind of, keep the momentum going. For an action, you may play an Imperial unit from your hand. You have to pay its cost though, but it enters readied. So that is really good with a couple cards. I'll kind of go over those cards when we get down to them. But you have to keep in mind that you want to kind of do this early in the turn, or when your opponent hasn't attacked with his units yet, because if you don't, your opponent may ready a unit. So if they can't, if they haven't played a unit or don't have an exhausted unit, it's the perfect time to use Ozzel's ability. But you have to kind of work around making sure that your opponent doesn't have a huge threat on the board, because that can come back and bite you. But again, I'll kind of go over why I have this in the deck. It's more of those fun tech cards. It doesn't need to be in the deck. It can easily come out, but I'll kind of explain why I have it in the deck, right? We play 2 Seasoned Shore Troopers that actually should be 3. We play 3 Seasoned Shore Troopers. Very good. If you have 6 resources for a 2 cost becoming a 4/3, that's very, very good. Really good value. But you have to have 6 resources for it to be that. But even as a 2 cost 2/3, not bad. It's a Trooper, it's Imperial, has good synergy, definitely works with this deck. Again, should be a 3-of. I don't know why it says 2. General Veers, I have it as a 2-of. It's just a way to buff up your Imperial units. You play it on the board. Each Imperial unit you control has +1/+1. It's just a staple in a lot of Imperial decks, just to kind of give that little extra nudge, that extra boost, if you need it, right? Next card. This should be a 2-of. So Seasoned Shore Trooper should be a 3-of, and this should be a 2-of. I mean, you can argue that the ratios the way they are okay, or if you want to, run 3 Fifth Brothers. But we have Fifth Brother here mainly because it works well with Grand Moff Tarkin. Grand Moff Tarkin can go ahead and give an experience token to it because it is an Imperial unit. For each damage that this unit has on it, it gets raid +1, so that's pretty good. And then on attack, you may deal 1 damage to yourself and an opponent's ground unit. That's just pretty good. It says may, so you don't have to kill yourself if you have 1 HP remaining. You can attack into your opponent's base and start chipping off your damage, so you don't have to take a huge chunk at the beginning to get your ramp up damage, right? And also it's a good way to kind of take care of those pesky shields, right? You can attack into an opponent's base, take 1 damage, and take off an opponent's shield, leaving your other units, if you want, to take out that unit that had the shield if you want. It's just kind of a good way to kind of handle those things that are kind of a nuisance to deal with in a way, right? It's also really good because if you start boosting it up with Grand Moff Tarkin, Vanguard Infantry, and then a couple other cards I'll talk about later, it can become a problem really quickly, because not only are you getting the experience, right? Let's just say you have +3/+3 experience, like you have 3 experience tokens on it, +3/+3, and you have 4 damage on it, you're getting +7 to your attack. So that's really, really good. Getting into our next card here, we have Grand Moff Tarkin. It's just a way to search and get Imperial units into your hand, right? Imperial cards. Doesn't have to be units, it could be Imperial cards. Search your top 5 cards in your deck, take 2 Imperial cards from him, put them into your hand. Definitely always good. It's just, if you get into a pickle and you need to get a search going. Also a good way to thin the deck. One of the newer cards to be announced, I saw it and I added it into this deck over Agent Callus. I'll go over Agent Callus in the cards that you could add to this deck, but I took out Agent Callus mainly because this thing is really good removal. So you play it, it comes in shielded, always good, but his second ability is insane. When this unit deals combat damage to a non-leader unit while attacking, defeat that unit. So it can deal 3 damage to a unit that has 7 HP. That unit still dies. It comes in shielded, so it doesn't have to worry about it attacking the first time. You don't want to use it to attack into a shielded unit. So again, I'll talk about a combo in a second. But if you're attacking into something, you deal any type of damage to it, it is defeated immediately. So that's really, really good. If you use Fifth Brother, attack the base, you ping off something shield that you want to get rid of, and then use this to attack into it, it's a good combo to make sure you get rid of that thing even if it has a shield. And then also Admiral Ozzel with this card, right? Admiral Ozzel, being able to have this thing come in readied is really, really good because you can not have to wait a turn to take out something on your opponent's side. This deck, you don't want to make it so you have a ton of resources, but if you ever get to the point where you have the point of 5 resources or more, and you have to play Rook to kind of control a couple things, it is a good card to kind of use to take out opponents' monsters. Yep, opponents' units if you need to do that, right? It's not needed, it's just a fun card to do so. That's going to do it for our ground units. You see, they're all Imperial units, and then they also, most of them are troopers. Very fun little engine we have going on. You see with Tarkin, Vanguard Infantry, and General Tag, you're dishing out a lot of boosted up potential. And then we're going to go ahead and get into our space units as you see here. And we're going to go over more boosting potential in this deck, right? Frontline Shuttle. Frontline Shuttle is mainly just there to be able to get an extra attack in with something if I need it. For an action, defeat this unit, attack with an exhausted unit. That unit cannot attack a base. It works really well with Rook. Being able to take out multiple things in a turn. If you use Ozzel, it comes in readied. And then you use this to go ahead and attack into another thing. You can potentially take out 2 things on the turn you played Rook, which is always a fun combo to do. Doesn't happen often, but it is fun when you can pull it off. Imperial Interceptor, always a good space unit in aggression villainy decks, in my opinion. When played, deal 3 damage to a space unit. If you need to deal that little bit to a space unit that you need to get rid of, play this. It deals 3 damage, then you have a space unit to go ahead and attack the opponent's base the next turn. Or if you just want to get rid of a smaller unit that's kind of dealing pesky damage to your base, you can use this. It's just a good way to deal a quick 3 damage to your opponent's space units and then kind of have that 3/2 space unit on the board. High Advance is another card that you're going to be using to boost up your Imperial units. When played, give 2 experience tokens to a friendly Imperial. I only play it as 2 of because we have other things in this deck that boost up your Imperial units and your troopers in a way that High Advance is just kind of a little bit expensive, but I still have it if I need it in a pinch. It's just 4 cost. There are things that are cheaper that do the same thing. Maybe not to the +2/+2 potential, but still, this is still a very good card for the deck and it synergizes very well. I just think 2 of is plenty, because if you open up a hand with 3 of these, it is bad, right? So 2 is a fine number in my opinion. And going to our last space unit, we don't use many space units in this deck, but because again, we want to have a ground assault, pretty much, with a bunch of troopers. Ruthless Raider, really great card. 6 cost, so again, you're not going to be using it too often in this deck because it very rarely, it can often get to 6 resources, but you might want to play your other cards over this. But if it gets into that really, really long game and you want to play this as a 6 cost, when played, deal 2 damage to a unit and 2 damage to a base. Very good, but it also gets that ability when it's defeated. So you have potential to deal 4 damage to a unit and 4 damage to a base, or 2 damage to 2 different units and 4 damage to a base. It's just a very good card for what it does, and extra damage, always good. It's just good, right? Getting into our events now, right? These are very fun events for the Tarkin Trooper deck. Starting off with Precision Fire, it is a must 3 of if you're playing any type of Trooper deck. Attack with a unit, so you get to play this, attack with a unit. That unit gets Saboteur. So when I was talking about those pesky sentinels that can kind of stop your onslaught, This gets around that easily, and if you do it on a trooper, it gets +2/+0. So one, you're making your trooper stronger, it can get around Sentinel, and you can get a free shot on the base with even more power. Works perfect for this deck. Very good way to, maybe if your opponent thinks it's safe on the last turn, oh, I have a Sentinel, he can't get over that, I can go with a Sentinel hit. Nope, boom, give you guys Saboteur, and you get to attack on that thing, which is why I have it as a 3-of. Very good. Tactical advantage. The reason I have it as a 3-of is because it is a 1 cost and gives you +2/+2 for the phase. That's pretty strong. People might not feel that way, but for a 1 cost, being able to power up one of your units +2/+2, it might be the difference in swinging in for game. It might be the difference in swinging over a Sentinel. It might be the difference in swinging over a leader. It's just good. Also +2/+2, and just getting in a little bit of more hefty damage on your opponent's base is just always good value, right? And it's a 1 cost. Very good. Open Fire, I play as a 2-of, mainly because it is a 3 cost, but you get to deal 4 damage to anything, doesn't need damage or anything. Just deal that 4 damage to your opponent unit. Just good. Good way to kind of, again, you can use it to clean up Sentinels, or you can just deal 4 damage to something and take it out if you need it. If you don't want to take more damage from that unit, it's just a good card. Dealing 4 damage to something seems good most of the time. Overwhelm Barrage, surprisingly not a 3-of. We have it as a 2-of because it is a 5 cost. We typically don't want to play the big costing card. So in my mind, in this deck, 5 is a big costing card. We have Rook, Ruthless Raider, and Overwhelm Barrage. Those are our big cards, right? But give a friendly unit +2 for the phase, and then deal damage to opponent's units as you see fit, equal to the amount. So you can split up your damage. Let's just say something is up to 8 attack, deal 8 damage amongst a few things. You can do 4 to one thing, 4 to another thing, take them both out. You know, it's Overwhelm Barrage. We all know about it by now. It's one of my favorite cards, if not my favorite card in this game. And it's just a lot of fun to play. It's a good board control if you really need it, especially with this deck. Because there are times when I've gotten a trooper up to 10 power, played this, clean up a board, and still got to attack a base. Always fun. We have Infiltrator's Skill next. I played it as a 2-of. It gives Saboteur, which is always nice, +1/+1 as well. But it's an upgrade, which there are pretty decent amount of cards now to take out upgrades. So that's the reason why I have it as a 2-of. I think that Precision Fire for this deck works a little bit better because it allows you to attack immediately while having Saboteur. Whereas if you play this on something and they have the card to take out that upgrade, then you get to not use it. You just don't get to use it. So it's not optimal in my opinion, but it's still a very good card nonetheless. And then the final card in the deck, Academy Training, it is a 2 cost and it gives you +2/+2. Pretty good. It's cheap and it makes you pretty strong, which is why I was talking about the High Advance, right? Being a 4 cost to give you +2/+2. This just gives you +2/+2. Again, it is an upgrade, so it can go away, but still very good. Make sure smaller units, very strong, very fast. You can get this out on a that Stormtrooper turn 2, and it becomes a 5/3. That's scary to deal with, especially on turn 2, right? So that's it for the deck list. As you see here, we are rocking the Grand Moff Tarkin Trooper deck. The main focus of this deck is make our small units, flood the board. You can either spread out your experience tokens, which I do recommend maybe trying to spread out a little bit, or you can make one really, really powerful unit if you feel like your opponent can't keep up at the moment and just swing into base repeatedly. It's just a lot of fun. It's pretty fast. It does struggle a little bit with Sabine, again, what most decks do. Struggles a little bit with decks that like to prolong the game and get health back, restore, have sentinels, you know, stuff like that. Give out a lot of shields. It struggles with it a little bit if they can kind of take out your units using those shields. Still, a lot of fun. It does handle a lot of decks pretty well. And now we're going to kind of go over cards that I understand could have been in the deck, but I don't have it in this deck list. And let's go ahead and talk about them here. We have the obvious first, too, right? We have Super Laser Technician, and we have Resupply. In a lot of green decks, you want to run that because you want to ramp up. Grand Moff Tarkin, in my opinion, does not fit in that category because we're not trying to drop down big units on the board for game shifting plays. Our focus in the game is getting down a bunch of small units and getting in on the base as fast as possible. You're not going to ever get to the point of getting the 9 resources to get a Relentless out. You're never going to get the Devastator out at 10 resources. It's just not what this deck does. So we're not playing big units. and we're not playing Super League Technician and Resupply. Now, if you want to go ahead and play that to get out more troopers, I can understand playing those two cards, right? Super League Technician is pretty good because it's 3 cost. It gives you something on the board, and then you can swing into something and take out like a weaker unit with it while also gaining a resource. So I can understand why people might want to put Super League Technician in this deck. I just don't think that it fits what I was trying to do, because essentially you're taking time in playing that Super League Technician and taking away time that you're going to be using to get your troopers up on the board. So that's why I play no Super League Technician. I don't play Resupply because of that. I already talked about Relentless and Devastator. They're too high cost for this deck to play efficiently. So we're going to kind of skip out on that. Patrol V-Wing. One of the things that this deck does kind of lack is that draw power. We're going to go over 3 cards right here that kind of give you draw power that if you need it, you can go ahead and add them, right? Patrol V-Wing. When played, draw a card. Pretty good. Again, just easy draw power. Mission Briefing. Draw 2 cards. Pretty good. You get to draw those 2 cards. Just adding that draw power. And then you can talk about Agent Callus. Agent Callus is one of those cards I talked about a little bit earlier that I took it out for Rook. Agent Callus has Ambush. Pretty good. And then when he defeats a unique unit, or not when he defeats, but when a unique unit is defeated, once per turn you can draw a card. That's pretty good to get you that draw power that you might want. I just felt like Rook kind of was better than Agent Callus, honestly. But it definitely sees a place in this deck because it is an Imperial and it is a Trooper. So it gets the ability to get all those buffs that all the other cards get. It just adds a 5 cost. I just didn't want to play it because I want to play the smaller units quicker, you know? 97th Legion, it's an Imperial Trooper, but again, it's too big. At a 7 cost, it doesn't have a place really for this deck, in my opinion. We'll go over a couple of upgrades and events. Traitorous, really good. It's like a change of heart. You can take over a 3 cost or less unit on your opponent's side. That's always fun. And then, but if it's defeated, that upgrade is defeated, you lose control of that thing. So what I would do normally is take over one of my opponent's units, swing into one of the guys, take out them both, right? That's your best thing that you can do, right? But being a 5 cost, I didn't see a place for it in this deck. And then Strike True. It is a 3 cost, so it's not that expensive. You have to deal the damage of one of your units to an opponent unit, which is pretty good because your smaller units get pretty big pretty quickly. I just feel like Overwhelm Barrage in a pinch is a little bit better than Strike True. But again, if you don't want to have that high cost, you can definitely put this in over Overwhelm Barrage for sure. Seven Sister. It's good because Saboteur, if you're worried about those Sentinels. And then when it deals combat damage to your opponent's base, it deals 3 damage to your opponent's ground units. That's pretty good. So if you need to get over those pesky Sentinels, this is a good card for it. And then there are, you know, the generic cards. TIE Fighter, I could see if you want to get those small units out there for space. It's a 1 cost vanilla 2/1. Sure, you can go ahead and add it here. If you need your own Sentinels, you can go ahead and add Cell Block Guard. Always pretty good to add. And then we have I Am Your Father. Getting back into that draw power category here, you can deal 7 damage to an enemy unit. Always good, but if they say no, you draw 3 cards. So it's a win-win, right? You either take out one of your opponent's units, or you get to draw 3 cards. Either way, you're winning. So there are often times when I play that card and I want to draw 3 cards. I don't even want to take out the opponent's unit, but I digress. It's a very good card. So if you want to switch out any of the cards here, with those cards, I completely understand. And again, in my deck list here, you can see the Admiral Ozzel. I would definitely, you know, understand if you want to take those out. I just have them in for more of a fun little combo type of thing. But I can see you guys taking those out. I might do the Force Table thing without the Ozzles just for fun. I might have them in there just to kind of hopefully show off what he can do in a pinch. But most likely he will be out of the deck for the Force Table simulation, right? With that being said, we're going to go ahead and hop over to Force Table now, and so I can show you guys a little bit about the deck. And again, if this video is a little bit too long, you guys don't want to watch the Force Table stuff, let me know in the description below. I won't include it, but I did get asked to go ahead and show off, even on Force Table, though it is not the best rendition of gameplay and how to show off a deck, I can still show off some of the combos and how the deck should be functioning, even against an AI, because it's just showing off the combos and how well the deck synergizes. That's what I'm going to be showing off right now. So I'll see you guys over there on Force Table. All right, guys, welcome back. We're here on Force Table. We're going to be using our Tarkin deck to go up against the Sabine deck, mainly because of how fast Sabine is And I also felt like Vigilance Sabine was pretty good because it does have the ability to use Vanquish. I do believe that this deck list that we are going up against has Vanquish, which if we focus on one of our troopers only and they just pop down a Vanquish, then it becomes a problem, and then it might show me having to regroup and trying to get around that. But with that being said, Sabine is always a good testing factor. We got a pretty meh hand here. It's not too bad because we have these seasoned shore trooper. We got 2 of them. We have a couple powering up things here. So it's not the worst, but I do think I'm going to be taking the mulligan and just kind of trying to go. We want the Death Star Stormtrooper, honestly. That's like always my favorite way to start, which we do end up getting. So we're going to start like this, right? Again, if you guys do think that the added in force table might be a little too much, let me know. We are going to be putting down our TIE Advance and our overall Mirage because they are not really needed at the early parts of the game. And let's go ahead and just start off with that. We're going to go ahead and move a couple things around. Sorry about that. Just so I don't look like a turkey neck here. I'm going to go ahead and then you're going to see we're going to use Tarkin's ability. We are going to be taking 1 to our base, and our opponent's going to be taking 1 because Sabine. And again, that's one of the problems going up against Sabine. Sabine is just really fast, being able to deal damage on the first turn no matter what. And we kind of have to regroup after that. I think that the best thing I can kind of do here, I definitely want to keep this. I think keeping this is really good. I think Rook might be going down just because I don't need him at the moment. And here I can go ahead and I can deal out 6 points of damage right off the bat, which I think is what I'm going to end up doing. Because it's just, again, we're just using that engine, the Imperial and the Trooper engine, to deal a lot of damage. Wing Leader early is not good. Oy. I probably should have popped this while I could have, but we did not, and now here we are. So he's going to be swinging into our base for 4. You know, we're not leading by that much. Ooh, okay, cool. Okay, so now we're going to be keeping overwhelming barrage because next turn we are going to need that for sure. I don't think we need 5th Brother at the moment, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to drop that down. And I think what we are going to do is play an Academy training on our Stormtrooper. Again, making this guy really buff. Sabine comes out. That's a little scary, but we're going to go ahead, buff up our Stormtrooper a little bit more. Getting ready for next turn when we use Overwhelm Barrage. You're going to see Sabine deal 3 damage to us. We're going to now swing into their base. We're going to be dealing a lot of damage here. We have 8 damage right there. That's the problem. Ugh. All right, we're going to attack. Get off another 2 damage here. Take that. And we're going to grab the initiative here, and we're going to be playing Overwhelming Barrage, trying to take out as many units as possible. Ooh, that's not good. So this has 6 HP, 6 HP, 4 HP, 2 HP. So that does kind of get annoying. I think Rook, we kind of want to keep in our hand here. Doesn't look like we're going to have to be going up against any Sentinels at the moment, so I think that's the play we're going to be doing. Overall Mirage, we're going to power it up. I think the main thing is trying to take the least amount of damage possible, right? Yes, we could take this out, but it's going to deal 3 damage to our base, which we cannot afford to take at the moment. We need to take this out, and that is 6 damage here. Right. We get to deal 4 damage out. Let's deal 2 damage here, just to get rid of that extra 3 damage. And then let's go ahead and we're going to deal the extra 2 to Sabine. He's going to put, oh, okay, so that's going to give raid. At that point, obviously we have enough now to swing at the base because with the +2. Oh, we had 8 HP, whatever. We had game anyway. I don't know why I freaked out. I thought he had more HP than that. But as you saw there, very quick game. We're just trying to make our units bigger. If it got to the point where we had to get rid of something else, I was going to open fire and Tarkin Town on Sabine if needed to be, right? Or, you know, something else if I really needed to get rid of that damage. But we were in a really good spot from the beginning. We were able to get our little Stormtrooper here really, really strong. And again, it's not the best showcase because a human player might have actually focused down the Stormtrooper before it got to the point of this. So that's something to keep in mind. This is not going to be like, oh, every game is going to be like you're going to be able to get your little guy this big and swing over your opponent. No. This is just showing you that some of the cards that synergize very well. I was able to show off Tarkin. I was able to show off the Academy training buff up, the Snowtrooper Lieutenant on top of a Whirl and Barrage. These are just like some of the little bit of combos that you can do with this deck. This is always a lot of fun. I was going to play tag if I needed to, give out couple experience, right? So again, a little showcase of what this deck could potentially do against a human player. It might not have been that easy, and we would have to do a lot more thinking. I would have kept a little bit of other things, probably, like maybe the other Overwhelm Barrage or the Tide Advance if I was playing as a human player, because, you know, I would need to maybe buff up in the future, right? But with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, let me know what you guys think of adding on the Force table rendition thing here, just because I understand the video is going to be a little bit longer here, so people might not want to watch the whole thing. But again, we just wanted to show off the deck and how it could potentially work, right, with these combos. And, it's always fun to play a little bit of extra games, right? With that being said, I want to thank you guys all for watching. If you are new here and enjoy the content, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. We have a lot of things coming up. We have giveaways coming up. We have streams. We have pack openings, live matches from the shop. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So I greatly appreciate all the support I've been getting. We are approaching 700 subscribers. We're not super close. I think we're at like 670 at the point. But still, we are approaching 700. We are getting to that end of the year goal of 1,000 quicker than I thought we would. And again, I wouldn't be able to do any of that with any of you guys. I greatly appreciate all the support. And I'm going to keep the content going as long as you guys enjoy it. And with that being said, we're going to go on and get out of here. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.